Hello, I am Vox, and this is a new player guide for 2025. Whether you just found this game randomly or are looking into it after seeing Enfield, this guide will help you get the best start possible as well as show you the basics on gameplay and what to do. This is going to be broken up into multiple chapters covering everything you need before ending chapter 0. We're going to start with classes and an overview of your operators, then we're going to go into gameplay with some low-level techniques to set the groundwork for the rest of the game. After that, we're going to go over how to maximize your start with some of the new player gifts. Then we're going to end on leveling your characters, what classes to focus on, and some recommendations for characters that are going to make your life easier. Alright, let's do this. If you're only looking for specific info, then this video does have chapters to help you out. So from our home screen, we're going to go over here, take a look at the squads tab. On the bottom, you'll see you've got 4 teams to mess around with. You can rename them with this little pencil button. And you can individually pick a single character by hitting the plus, or you can pick multiple by doing quick select. Before you go into a mission, you will also still be able to modify or do anything you need with your squads. So we're going to start with Vanguards. Vanguards are going to be the first characters that you end up putting down. They're the first to the fight. Their job is twofold. First, it's to generate DP so that you can get the heavier hitters down and doing their thing. And it's also to be cheap bodies that you can throw at an enemy that comes at you really quickly. So the first and the easiest Vanguard is going to be Yato. She's a 2-star, which means she does not have a skill that can be activated to give DP. So she actually can only do one of the 2 jobs that a Vanguard does. But she does the other job very well. She's an extremely cheap, extremely easy to place down character just to put in front of bodies. Her talent actually helps a lot with this. Basically, whenever you retreat her, you'll see she's only got a 30-second cooldown, whereas others would have like, wonder if we put him down. He's got a 70-second cooldown. Next up is going to be Plume. Plume is a Charger Vanguard. So unlike Yato and the other 3-star Vanguards, she doesn't actually generate DP on her own. She needs to kill people to do it first. She's got slightly higher attack stats than the other Vanguards, and she's also got lower defense stats, as well as only being able to block one person. Her skill basically just increases everything about her attack, making it easier for her to generate DP by killing enemies for you. Vanilla and Fang are pretty similar. Vanilla and Fang both have block 2, just like Yato. And they both have skills that generate DP. However, for Vanilla, it's a skill that you have to trigger yourself because it also gives her an attack up. And for Fang, it just automatically happens. She just instantly gains DP points. You can see here, this is an auto charge skill with an auto deployment. And this is an auto charge skill with a manual deployment. And since this one gives her attack up and doesn't just instantly pop DP, it also has a 10-second charge. Make sure when you're looking at skills to notice that. For some characters, you'll need to time them correctly because they have auto-deploy skills. So next, we're going to go over guards. Guards are going to be the core of most teams. They're the most versatile of the classes. I've actually got one set up right here just to make sure that none of these people leak. So our first guard that we're going to talk about is going to be Melantha. Melantha is a dreadnought. Essentially what you're going to want to do with Melantha, you can see she 2-shots that guy. Melantha is really good for just dropping her down in a certain location and just getting rid of tough enemies. She does have a pretty low defensive stats though, so you're going to want to protect her with a medic or put a defender that the defender gets hit and she's just attached. Poppycar. Poppycar is a Centurion guard, which essentially means, as you can read here, she attacks all blocked enemies. For her, that means 2. However, for higher rarity operators, they can get up to 3 block. Poppycar is probably your number 1 guard, and honestly, your number 1 period for just plopping in front of a lane that gets a ton of small trash mobs. So nothing, she has decent defense stats, but anything that's actually gonna hurt is gonna hurt her. So you're better off chucking her in lanes like this, where you see she can just carve all these tiny guys to pieces and not really worry about it because their defense is higher than their attack. Her skill is just an attack up skill, attack plus 50%. Really good. I like her. Use her. Cute eye patch. Next up, we have Midnight. who Midnight is a Lord Guard. I'm actually going to place him here. So you can see he's got a really funky range. It's because he can also do range damage and damage to aerial enemies. So like drones in the sky, stuff like that. His skill just allows him to increase his attack by a certain amount, but it also changes his attacks to arts damage. The reason that's so important is because arts damage actually ignores defense. Arts damage is instead negated by resistance, which is not a big deal at the lower levels, making him actually pretty decent for putting out some pretty decent damage. Just gonna bully Crown Slayer real quick. So that's it with our guards. Next up, we're going to go into defenders, and defenders are pretty simple. They all do the same thing, pretty much. They take damage, and they stop people from getting close to you. They all pretty much have 3 block, aside from the weird ones. And then they all have pretty decent defense and health stats. So we'll start with Northcorn. Much like Yato, he's the simple defender. He just has a talent that makes his HP and defense higher. That's it. He does not have a skill, he's a 2-star. Beagle is going to be the 3-star version of Northcorn. She's got a talent that increases defense and a skill that increases defense. She's got high defense, that's her thing, right? That's her thing, she's the quintessential defender. Cardigan and in a second Spot are a little bit of a deviation from the formula. Cardigan, on top of having less defense than Beagle, actually can heal herself by 20% of her max HP. And you'll see this is a manual skill where you just click it and she heals herself. Her talent is having more HP instead of more defense. So she's going to be more likely to tank hits and actually have damage go through her stats, but then she'll be able to heal those stats. Spot is similar to Cardigan, except instead of having more HP, he can actually heal other people. So he stops attacking and focuses on healing the surrounding allies. That is anybody in this range. And for a lot of these skills, if you want to see what their range is, if they've got modified range, you can hit this button right here. So if I trigger, I don't know if I'll have time. Oh no, they're fighting Beagle. Yeah, I have time. So if I trigger this, he'll go and he'll heal this guy. He cannot attack enemies while doing this, but he can heal himself. Out of all of these defenders, I would say build Spot. Alright, now let's do snipers. So, snipers, much like Vanguards, fill out 2 primary roles. Role number 1 is they're going to be your physical range damage dealers. They are pretty good at dealing with low defense, like high numbers of enemies. Their other purpose is that they are very good at dealing with aerial enemies because they prioritize them. So I don't know if there's any drones on this map. I kind of just have been going in order. But they would avoid attacking this dog if there was a drone in range, stuff like that. So with your snipers, Rangers is going to be your 2-star, which means he has no skill. His talent is doing more damage to aerial targets, assisting with him being the anti-air sniper. Arknights, as you can see, is absolutely my favorite. I built him so much. I don't really care about Arknights because Cruz is just better. With her skill, she shoot after a certain amount of attacks. So in my case, I don't think I've built the skill at all, but in my case, it's 5. So she shoots 5 times and then she shoots twice in a row. This helps because she has a crit chance, a 20% chance to increase the current damage to 160%. So basically you're just crit farming with her, and she's awesome. She's really good. I like her a lot. Her, and I think you get Jessica. Yeah, you get Jessica as well pretty early. Her and Jessica. Don't touch this guy. He's lame. He's cringe. Catapult is an AoE physical damage dealer. So she is, I believe, an artilleryman. Her talent is just that she costs 1 DP less, and her skill is that the AoE of her normal attacks gets increased when you trigger it, but you see she's got a long time before that skill triggers. So with her, you're getting increased attack range, a slower attack. That's the other thing. These guys have pretty low damage, but their attack speed is pretty high. Holy shit, she's dying. Chat, my Cruz is dying. So you're getting AoE attacks as well. So if there's a large wave of slugs, stuff like that, you can bring her out and she'll be able to deal with them all relatively quickly. However, I would say prioritize Cruz and Jessica first, And then if you're struggling with a certain stage where you just need a lot of that AoE damage and to kill a lot of the small fries, then take out your catapult. Also, catapult has a hidden talent that isn't stated anywhere in the game called yapping. God save your soul if you ever get her in recruiting, because you might as well go make yourself some dinner. She talks so much. Caster's primary goal is just dealing arts damage. Like I said before, with Midnight, arts damage is really good low level and pretty much really good period just because of the way numbers work. So our first two casters that we have, once I can place them down, probably should have brought a Vanguard, but oh well. Darren and then Stuart. These are both core casters. They are the bread and butter caster group. However, they are almost immediately overshadowed by Amiya. I'm pretty sure immediately overshadowed by Amiya. Stuart, his skill is increasing the attack of the next attack to 150%. And then Durin doesn't have a skill. She's small. It's funny how small she is. Oh, and she also has this really wacky talent where she dodges 50% of arts attacks. So go gambling. Go to casino. Amiya pretty much immediately steals the show. I have the wrong skill equipped right now for her. She gets more skills the more she levels up. She's going to have an ASPD up skill. I would just immediately start building her. You're going to need her built for story reasons, and also she's just a really good character. After that, then we have 12F and Lava. 12F and Lava are similar to Catapult in that they are just the AoE version of their damage type. However, instead of having slower attack and a longer attack range like Catapult and other artillerymen have, they instead have the absolute honor of having a shorter attack range. So they trade being able to hit anything farther than like their nose for less realistic damage because they hit slower as well than core casters. Basically, I'm not a fan. With your limited resources at the beginning, I would invest in whatever random 4-star you ended up getting from the original recruitment, which is different. So I hope that you get a decent one, as well as just investing in Amiya. That's casters. They deal arts damage. Build Amiya. There you go. That's the entire section. So next up, we've got medics, and medics are incredibly simple. Medics are build Ansel. Build Ansel. I am partial to Hibiscus because she annoys Lava and Lava annoys me, so it makes it work out. But to be completely fair, Adnaciel is probably better. First off, range +1 is pretty good. It makes him even more versatile, which versatility is great. His talent being that he has a 21% at max level, so for you probably 18% chance to heal an extra ally is really good. 20% is decent enough, and he's going to be yeeting these things all the time, so you'll probably just end up getting lucky. So for our final 3-star, we have Orchid. She is a slowing supporter. Support class supports in a lot of different ways. Some of them destroy defense, some of them shred resistance, stuff like that. But for Orchid, you slow people down. So if you're ever running into a situation where you need to be worried about a super quick wave coming that you just can't beat, you can bring Orchid and she'll try and slow that wave down. She also deals arts damage, so you can have that slowing along with also being able to ignore defense. She's pretty good. I'd build her over the 3-star casters. I would build Amiya and her, just because that extra utility, and I like her. Yeah, that's going to be all of our characters. Now we're going to transition. Let's actually get into the game now that we're done going over our characters. So first off, for building a squad, what I'm going to say for an early game is that they really like throwing a lot of people at you early just to get you used to using Vanguards and getting set up quick. It's how they try to introduce difficulty before throwing stat sticks at you so you can be below level and still alright. For your starter team, here's what I'm going to recommend. Take Spot and Beagle, Vanilla, and then either Plume or Fang. If you're running into an issue where Plume is leaking, then take Fang. She's probably better, but this Plume skin is super hot, so I'm taking her. Take Melantha, Poppycar, and Midnight. They pretty much are going to negate our Beagle and Spot, but we're just filling out Mostly you just want bodies in the early game because shit's probably going to die. You're going to need to drop something else on top of it. Then you're going to want to take Cruz and Jessica. If you don't have Jessica, which I know you do, so you're lying, take A-word, but ugh, we hate A-word. And then Amia, Hibiscus, and Ansel. You don't need a ton of arts damage early game, especially with Midnight on the team. So just take Amia. All right. So some easy, quick, down and dirty tactics or little stuff. We're gonna do this on the boob map because it's funny. So this map,
if you just surrender.
We're gonna drop in our Vanguards first. I like to put my Vanguards slightly in front of whatever my defenders are gonna end up standing on. So you see, I've got vanilla up here because these sets of 2s come out. Plume would not be able to hold this. A lot of Arknights is just gonna be knowing the map beforehand. Like, it's just, that's just how this game works. You gotta know. Next, we're going to drop a defender behind wherever Plume is standing. So obviously when you drop a character, you've got this range. Point them in the direction that you need them pointed. They cannot turn unless you get rid of them. Let's put our spot over on this side.
Yeah, fine.
And I was lying, Plume actually can hold this, but yours might not be able to. Mine's just max level, so watch out for that. Then some other just things you might want to know.
Understood.
A lot of the times, instead of, if you've got a squishy character like Melantha that does a lot of damage, put them to the side of a character that you want to be able to actually be the tank. That's gonna make your life a lot easier. So same thing up here. We're gonna take our vampire man and point him that way. So this is what I mean when I say know the map before doing it. This is what I mean, because I had no idea those guys went that way. These are drone tiles. These can only spawn aerial units, but aerial units can also spawn from incursion points. So don't think just because it's this point you can't get drones coming out of it. Let's put in our snipers. So as you can see, the mage is actually shooting at my Jessica. And the reason they're doing that, they're also shooting my Cruz, is because in this game, the way that target priority works, the last thing placed, unless specifically said, so in some characters' kits, it'll say takes priority for being hit, like the most noticeable character. Unless specifically stated, the last character placed will be the character that the enemies actually end up attacking, and the character that ends up taking the brunt of the damage. So in all reality, if this was like a serious map where my Jessica kept dying, I would place her first and then place Beagle. But that's pretty much, the early game is very simple. Sometimes you're going to run into a wall, and instead of just like, I'm going to run my head against the wall, I'm going to do it this specific way because I'm a stubborn bastard. Modify your strategy and modify your characters too. So let's say in that situation, I didn't end up needing an arts dealer, but maybe you got to bite the bullet and instead of Jessica, just bring A-word, right? Sometimes you just need to take out or not A-word, sorry, Steward. Just bite the bullet and take out Steward. This game, there's the only penalty to failing a mission is losing a single sanity, and in the early game you're leveling up so fast, like you're gonna have tons of sanity. There are also, if you're really running into sanity issues, don't be afraid to use this practice stuff. I have no idea how many. I don't even think it tells me, but I've got so many practice those practice things. Yeah, it doesn't even tell me. Don't be afraid to use them. They're incredibly low, they're highly available. I think that's pretty much it for actual like gameplay. So in recovery, like just to go over it again, the last character placed will be the first character targeted. Watch the red lines, and if you can, put your tanky character where the actual red line and the enemy is going, and then put your damage dealing character like your Melantha or your Midnight to the side so that they don't get hit and they don't take priority for melee damage, because they do big damage, but they are pretty squishy. And then other than that, don't be afraid to switch up your strategy. There's no penalty to retrying if you're running into an issue. Let's move on to the next part. All right, let's really quickly go over the gifts that you get at the beginning of the game. So at some point relatively early, you're going to get mail up here in the top left with a whole bunch of gifts in it, and it's going to give you these items as well as another 5-star selector ticket. I'm not quite sure why this account doesn't have. It could be that I just haven't played enough. But so let's start with that original, the 4-operator selector ticket. It comes with Praminix, Liskarm, Project Red, and Silence. There are tons of tier lists online listing out all these characters and which ones you should get. However, for me, I'm partial to Silence. When you get her E2, which you can very easily do with this ticket right here, with these two, when you get her E2, her drone heal ability is very good, and I like it a lot. And like I said, with my medics, I really enjoy versatility. Next, let's hit up the bigger operator transfer permit. This one gives you access to a whole bunch of 5-stars. So on the internet, on specifically like web-based tier lists, people were recommending Shamar and then Elysium. These are both very good characters. If you want to get them, get them. Elysium is a DP printing machine. However, he does not actually help much in the game early level. And a lot of your characters are super low cost. Plus, you'll probably be able to get Myrtle. So I wouldn't recommend Elysium. And Shamar is a debuffer, and you don't need to worry about that right now. So what I think those tier lists were more for like non-established, like just have been playing for a while people. For me, I'm going to recommend Lapland or Spectre. Lapland is a Lord Guard, just like Midnight. However, her special thing is that she is able to silence enemies. So not every enemy in this game is silenceable, but a lot of them are, a lot more than you'd think. So she can turn off all of their special abilities. Spectre is the 5-star variant of Poppycar, and she is able to 3-block. So she can hit 3 enemies at once with her chainsword. So just for this account, for shits and gigs, I'm gonna pick Spectre. She's my personal favorite. Also, Insane Nun goes crazy hard. Then after that, you have access to these two tickets here. So this ticket allows you to E2 any 5-star. So for me, I'm going to E2 my Spectre, and that's what I recommend you do as well. E2ing Amiya works too, but she's not going to be as much of a game changer as an Elite 2 Spectre is going to be. Then after that, you got the Senior Operator Training Apparatus, which takes this character and maxes her. So whichever character you do end up E2ing, you can immediately max them with this training apparatus. This is going to allow you to do a few things. Okay, now it's going to ask me about modules. You don't need to worry about modules right now. You are not far enough along to actually have to deal with it, but the game is just confused because I'm not supposed to have an E2 this quickly. But don't worry about modules yet. Alright, the important thing, because no matter what character you end up getting, make sure you're E2ing one of those 5-stars, because that is going to unlock a world of possibility for you. So if I go over here and I go into a map, I don't know, yeah, let's do S26, whatever this map is. You'll see here that I have this whole list of support units. So support units you'll see every single one of them is Elite 2, but you do not get access to them at Elite 2 unless there is another character in your squad that is Elite 2. So if I remove Amiya, I think, yeah, and you see immediately everybody's Elite 1. You need an Elite 2 character on your team to get one of these people at their highest strength. So once we put an Elite 2 operator back on the team, everybody's going to be Elite 2 again. This is going to allow you to select pretty much any character in the game that you want. You don't find what you end up needing, you can always hit refresh support list up here and it'll change some things up. The orange icons are your people who are you're friends with. So if you find a person with a character that you really enjoy using, friend them, because you can see here my friends unit skill is better than my non-friend unit skill. And that's not just, you can see in almost every regard. Sure, some people don't have those skills leveled, but in almost every regard, as you can see, level 7, mastery 3, and it's going to take you a while to get to the point where you can mastery 3, so that's a serious boon. If you need any specific character, you can absolutely friend me. I'll leave my stuff down in the description, and then you can just like hit me up on Discord or something. I'll leave that in the description too. Just say, hey, I need blah, 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 and I'll give you whatever you need. All right, now let's go back to the selector tickets. Later on, once you've been playing the game for a little bit, it's also going to give you access to this 6-star recruitment label. I think it's after 7 days, but I don't want to put that in your head. For this one, it's a toss-up for me. So since if you're getting Spectre, I don't recommend getting Blaze. I would recommend getting Mountain, as he is an extremely good lane holder, and him plus Spectre, you're good to go for a while. Thorns is better than Mountain, but only after you've leveled him all the way up past Elite 2. So for early game, and for the first, we'll say 20 to 30 levels of the game, maybe that's a bit much, but for the first at least week or two after you've already gotten this ticket, you'll probably be able to get Mountain to Elite 1, which is where he shines. You're probably not going to be able to get Thorns to Elite 2, which is where he shines. But if you are not worried about that and you're cool with just powering through it with a weaker operator until later on, then I would recommend Thorns above everybody else here. Saria is also really good, and she's in a similar boat to Thorns. She's very good at Elite 2. She's still better than Thorns at E1, but she's not as good as Mountain. So she's worse than Thorns and Mountain at E1 and E2, but she is very good if you need a defender, and her wide healing range as well as just her reliable heals are really good for the early game. I would not recommend getting Exusii or Silver Ash, and I would say Blaze is in the argument if you did not get Spectre. I would remove Thorns from the argument if you got Lapland. You know shit's good when I'm taking out the MS Paint. So now that stream of consciousness is done, let's go over this again. So for the 4 5-star selector ticket, remember we've got Praminix, we've got Project Red, we've got Silence, and we've got Liskarm. Don't do Praminix. Liskarm, if you need a defender, she's all right, but honestly, defenders and lane holders, you're gonna have to be taken care of with that 6-star selector ticket. And I think Spectre's just kind of better, so I wouldn't choose Liskarm, but Liskarm's hot, so if you want to, pick her. Project Red, probably your best choice. She's a fast redeploy, just imagine Yato, but better. Really good for just plonking her down somewhere and blocking a couple guys. Silence is who I picked. She's got extremely good healing, so her healing's great. So Silence has really good healing, and her little drone buddy is also incredible. However, she's only good once you've Elite 1'd her and gotten this ability, which you'll probably be doing relatively quickly, but for almost all cases, I would pick Project Red. All right, now let's go to the Infinity. That's grotesque. The Infinity 5 stars. That's an asterisk. Stop bullying me. All right, so for the Infinity 5-star selector ticket, there are a ton of options, and so we're just gonna stick with the 2 that I pointed out. It's either gonna be Lappers or it's gonna be Silence. Lappers is a Lord Guard, which means she does range damage. She does far-flung damage, right? So she's really good for, she dishes out some pretty decent damage. She also, funnily enough, does silencing. So not every enemy in the game, but more than you would expect can be silenced. That she curbs entire gimmicks by turning off certain abilities. So Lapland's really good. However, I'm partial to the Chainsaw Nun simply because her lane holding is extremely good. You just plonk her down, and especially since whichever character you get from this ticket, I recommend you do the instant E2. Do at Elite 2 max level, like max E2, Silence will not die to anything in the early game. Her second ability even stops her from dying, but stuns her for a little bit after. She goes crazy. She goes super hard. But this is honestly pretty equivalent. It's, do you want more range damage and the ability to silence and turn off abilities, as well as she converts her damage to arts. So she does more damage. Lapland does more damage, but silence is just kind of a drop and forget. So that's the conundrum here. Forget, and then, or big boom, humongous boom. Whichever one of these two you get though, I would Elite 2 them immediately so that you can get access to the funny recruitment, funny friend list, the FL. Finally, for the 6-star selector, once again, that is an asterisk. Stop bullying me. If you got Lappers, first get Mountain. I recommend Mountain out of all of them. But if you got Lapland, get Blaze. If you got Blaze, get Thorns. So once again, Mountain is good the second you get him to Elite 1, but he's a furry. So that's a bit, you know? You're playing Arknights. You're a furry. So that's honestly probably not Errol. He's probably more of a wink wonk, a bing bong. So Mountain is probably your best bet. His skill 2, which you get at Elite 1, is he's like Spectre, but he can heal himself. So if Spectre is immortal, this man is immortal squared, especially at lower levels. If you want to go with Blaze, because you got Lapland, don't get Blaze if you got Spectre, I'll find you. If you want to go with Blaze, that's fine. Her skill 2 takes a second to charge, so it's got a pretty big battery, right? But once it's charged up, she is an unstoppable machine. She will destroy any trash mob you throw at her, especially in the early game. Thorns is not good until Elite 2, but at Elite 2, he is still in contention for the best lane holder in the game. He smashes both of these guys. He is top dog, top sea urchin, but he takes getting to E2. Both of these characters are goated at E1. So Mountain and Blaze are both decent at E1. So that's your conundrum. Mountain on top, but if you don't want Mountain, then Thorns if you got, not Blaze. Thorns if you got Spectre. Thorns if you got Spectre. Blaze if you got Lapland. Let's get this over with. Alright, finally. Leveling characters. Let's see, do I have anybody low level? I probably do, right? I gotta. Alright, leveling characters. We'll use Blaze. So, to level your characters up, you need multitudes of different things. First, you need EXP cards and money. You can get both of those from these resource stages you unlock pretty early in the game, but I would recommend early game, just keep chugging through the story. You'll be getting these from daily missions, the weekly missions, quests. Keep pushing. If you run into an issue, I would say probably get everything like level 15, especially for like the first act, like Evil Time Part 2. What are these levels looking like? You need a level 20 character by the end of the second campaign you're on, and you're going to be getting XP, you're going to be getting resources all the way through this to pretty much keep yourself topped up. But if you need to, the game introduces them to you relatively early. Don't feel bad going through cargo escort and tactical drills to get the EXP cards and the money. Once you've been playing for a long enough amount of time that you will then need to E1 and E2 your operators. So to do that, you need these. Depending on the day, depending on the character, you're gonna need chips. You're gonna run these missions just like you would be running these two missions for money and XP. It's all pretty simple, it's all relatively easy. To actually E2 a character, or to elite a character, let's go, just scroll. Who do I have that's low level? Yeah, Fang the Fire Sharpened. All right, we're gonna do her. To get a character up to a higher level, once you've gotten them to elite level, or to level 50, max.
Now I better understand what I've learned.
You're gonna then click here and hit promote. You're going to need, like I was talking about, these Vanguard chips that you get from the supplies stages, and then an assorted level, two different types of items. If you don't have these, you can click and see on what tile you would be best to go after. Guaranteed is better than common, common's better than uncommon, uncommon's better than rare. Simple. If you're at the point where there's like a whole, they're all uncommon, then you can just Google the item and just be like, item drop chance, or like best level to find device, right? Then after you've gotten those and you've gotten your money, you will just hit this and you're gonna get a funny little animation.
Thank you for the promotion. I'll work even harder to improve myself.
And now you got a higher tier operator, which now their cap is open once again to go all the way up, but I don't have the money for that. Very simple. So for our characters, who do we want to focus on getting leveled higher? You can honestly, your medics, get them to like level 10, especially up until chapter, well, real chapter 2, but third chapter you'll be on. Your medics will be fine at lower levels. They, if your medics are having trouble healing, it's your fault. So get them level 10, maybe up their skills a little bit, which your skill upgrading happens here. That was an awful character to choose. Let's try this one. Your skill leveling is here, and it's gonna take these, which come from the aerial threat supply stages, but you'll also be getting a ton of these just from rewards. And you'll just go through and before you elite 1 your 4 stars, you'll only be able to get them up to level 4. After you elite, you'll be able to get them up even higher to a level 7 is the max. So treat your medics like garbage. They are minimum wage workers in our world. The characters you're probably going to want to have highest level first are going to be your guards and your damage dealers. So in order, you're going to want to have the highest level guards, then Amiya and no other caster, then your ranged physical damage dealers. So by the end of chapter 1, probably have all these guys like level 25 or like that high. Then after them, get your defenders to like around level 15 to 20 and get your vanguards to probably level 15. That's the order you want to go in. So to reiterate, guards, DPS, casters, defenders, vanguards, medics, supporters. And that should be a pretty decent look for you. Obviously, if you can, get everybody to level 25, be higher level than the requirements, and then just, it doesn't take skill if you just do more damage. If your goal is to be as good as possible, pull from, not this banner, don't do this one, this one's kind of mid, don't do this banner. I would look into, like, before you actually put your money into a character, I would look into them. Before you actually go and want to spend your hard-earned money, or your, even worse, your hard-earned arundums, I would test them out. Like, get somebody on your friends list, hit me up, whatever. Try them out first, see if you really like them, because at the beginning of the game, you need to be super stingy with that stuff. But you can pretty much, if you see them in the store and they look interesting to you, look up a video, see if they look like something you want to play, because ultimately, when you're dealing with 6 stars, they're all strong enough to get you to at least chapter 6 or 7 or 8. They can get you as far as you want to go if you put the time and effort into them, but if you just want to brain off with them, pretty much every 6 star can take you to chapter at least 7. So for the 6 stars, I would say build 1 or 2 of the meta ones if you can get lucky and get them, and then just go hog wild with whoever you think is hot. But don't grief yourself by going for just the ones you think are hot, but they're shit. Because then you won't have fun, and then you won't get to see the other hot characters because you'll rage quit this game. And I think that is the biggest tragedy possible because this game is really good. I'm not gonna bukkake you, but there is a lot of content here that you've got all the time in the world to beat. And this game is extremely rewarding. It's being good at this game is really fun because you're never really good at this game. There's always something better for you to learn, and stick with it and it will reward you. Yeah. All right. It is 9:30 at night and I haven't even started editing this video. If you have any questions, comment them. And if you need any operators or you just have any specific questions, I'll link my Discord down below so you can hit me up for assistance. All right. I think that's everything. If that isn't, then you won't be hearing this. I will take any of the questions and concerns that you guys put in the comments and I'll use them to make another video. No matter what, I'm going to make another video for after probably the 2nd chapter, or chapter 1 of stuff you need to do then. But peace for now. Subscribe.